welcome to another RSR. Tonight we are predicting the 2025 MLS season, regular season playoffs, MLS Cup. We'll have an early prediction for the playoffs and MLS Cup, but we aren't just predicting the regular season tables. We're predicting the first prediction for the playoffs. Of course, we'll have a new playoff prediction once we get there. And then 2 MLS Cup predictions. Or, yeah, 2, 3 tonight. Start of the playoffs. Day before MLS Cup this season. But we'll start with the full-on season predictions. Because it's starting 6 days from now. So, MLS is about to be back. We'll start with the Western Conference. We'll predict the regular season, then the playoffs, then save the MLS Cup for last. So let's start with the Western Conference all the way up to the Western Conference Finals, but let's start with the regular season. 15th place, we got 30 teams this year, 15 per conference. 15th place, Sporting Kansas City. They're screwed. I mean, seriously, well, they're screwed. I don't care if you have Dejan Joveljic. They stood pat. They were horrible last year. A one-man team does not win in this league. I hate to tell you, it doesn't do that. Look at Chicago with Xherdan Shaqiri. Look at Toronto, Federico Bernardeschi. Look at any one-team league or one-player team in this league's history. It never works. It never works. And Dejan Joveljic played a couple of crap years with the Galaxy when he first got there. I'm not saying he's a bad player. No, I think Dejan Joveljic is a wonderful player. But just because you got him out of a trade that nobody expected to happen doesn't mean you'll be a good team this year. They'll still be bad. Very bad. Enjoy the CCL and getting dropped by Miami. And then enjoy the rest of the year. Number 14, RSL. Real Salt Lake. They finally have to fall off at some point, and I think they just made the moves to fall off. Losing Chicho Arango, they were already falling off halfway through last year after he got suspended. After Chicho got suspended and before were 2 different seasons. Their form was falling off anyway. They started red hot. They started falling off. And they just weren't the same. Why would that change? And we saw what team they were without Chicho and how losing him for 3 games broke them. I know Diego Luna's a good player, but it's just not meant to be for RSL. Second bottom of the West. Number 13, we got San Diego FC, the new boys. Their starting 11 actually seems pretty quality. It's the rest of the team. And yes, there are questions about that starting 11. Like Alex Maitin, good player. Will he convert to MLS level play very easily? Chucky Lozano, will he actually succeed for the first time in his life since he left Pachuca? Who knows? That's the question. They have a solid starting 11. I mean, they do have a solid starting 11. But is it enough to be better than outside of the playoffs as a inaugural season team? I don't see a St. Louis run for San Diego. I don't see a LAFC run for San Diego. I don't see a Nashville run for them. I see them being more like Austin or any of the failed expansion teams. Not that it was a failure, but the first season was a failure. San Diego 13th. They'll have some good results, but they'll also have some bad results. Number 12, Houston Dynamo FC. You lost Coco Carrasquilla. Yes, they still have Bassi. They also lost Hector Herrera. They lost some of their spine. And even then, Coco Carrasquilla didn't look too good with Pumas. The man, I guess he got a bag with Pumas, but he left Houston down and out. They have good players, but again, they lost some really meaningful players this offseason. Ben Olsen, he's been a very good coach with those really good players, but will he be that coach without them? Will he go back to his DC self? I kind of surmise he will. Houston's going to fight, but I think they fall off a bit out of the playoffs. 12. 11th. Yep, 11th. FC Dallas. Again, they turned over their whole roster in the offseason. They did. They got Luciano Acosta, but when he had players with him, MVP level player, but I don't think he's the guy who can make a team go on his own. They lost Jesus Ferreira. They lost Paul Arriola, Dallas. They did gain Lucho Acosta, which, good. He is an MVP level player. He did win the MVP. But I don't think he's a one-man team saver or the obvious far and ahead best player on a team. Those Cincinnati teams, when they were good in the regular season but fraudulent in the playoffs and Leagues Cup, they also had some good players around them. Brandon Vasquez, especially in 2023. Luca Ordiano, Alvaro Barreal, Sergio Santos at times. This Dallas team doesn't have that. And that's my question. I mean, 11's not bad, but I'm not saying bottom, but they're definitely going to miss the playoffs. I think there's some Western teams who just have more quality. More quality. Tenth. We got 10th, the Vancouver Whitecaps. I don't think their new manager is going to lead them to anything good. I don't know what to think about Vancouver. I just think they're going to miss the playoffs barely. I don't have many positive, they're not bad thoughts about Vancouver, but I look at Vancouver and I'm like, they stood pat but changed their manager, give or take. Yes, they still have Ryan Gould, they still have Brian White, but they still have the same spine of a team. They're trying to say that Vanni Sartini was the problem. That might be true, but Vancouver still doesn't have a team who should finish top 3 or 4 in the West. They have players who, if they play out of their skin all at the same time, they can, but they don't have a roster who has a divine right for 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And I think that's what they see themselves. And I think they blame Sartini. I think their roster is baseline 7, 8, 9, 10. And their coach, I don't know what to think of him. Seems like a nobody to me. 10th, just out of the playoffs, Vancouver. 9th, we have 9th, the first wild card team. Yep, 9th. The San Jose Earthquakes. They actually had a really good offseason, San Jose. Getting Bruce Arena, getting Chicho Arango, getting Joseph Martinez. They're actually going for it. And you know what? I think San Jose will be a wild card team. I think they have the talent to be a wild card team. A 9 seed. Not much more. Not much more. There's still questions about the team. But it's their first year of a rebuild under Bruce Arena. And Bruce Arena's had his moments as a manager. I mean, he made the Revs a damn good team. So let's remember, the Revs started as a shockingly good team in 2020 and then became a really good team, and then shit went down and we still don't know what happened, but he got railroaded, I guess. I don't know. That's what it seems like. I mean, MLS let him back, so it seems like he really just got railroaded. But, I mean, the first year with the Revs, or the first playoff year, they were a solid team. They got in, made a little bit of a run. Earthquakes maybe could do the same thing this year. 9th place. 8th place. Minnesota United. I still think as a club they have a very good manager. They've got good players. They've got a good squad. They are better than the teams who won't make the playoffs, and they're honestly a bit better than the Earthquakes. Could they miss the playoffs this year? If things go like Vancouver's way or Dallas's way, yes, they could. I'm not saying they couldn't. But I think Minnesota will be good enough to make the playoffs in 8th place and make a wild card game and host it at Target. No, Allianz Arena or Allianz Field. Allianz Field. Allianz Arena's Bayern. Target Field's the Twins. Get it right. Okay. Number 7. Austin FC. I think they have a really good new manager. I think they do have the squad to do good things. I think they should make the playoffs with the squad they have. But Josh Wolff was just running very, very empty on motivation and tactics. I think they have a better manager. I think they have a better squad, or at least a squad that can perform better because of their manager change. Austin will make the playoffs just outside of the wild card, on the good end of just outside of the wild card. A bye to the conference quarters. We got in 6th, the Seattle Sounders. They made some good moves in the offseason. I don't think it's enough to say they're top of the West again, but they also have to deal with the Club World Cup. They have to deal with other tournaments. Would it shock me if they made a run from 6th place in the playoffs? No, it wouldn't. Do I think they'll finish higher? No, I think everybody else is still better on a level that they're not. Even though they did get Jesus Ferreira, they got Paul Arriola. They did get rid of Josh Atencio, which is stupid. Colorado got him. We'll talk about them in a little bit. That's a good move for Colorado. Bad move for Seattle. But Seattle will finish 6th. 5th place. We got the Colorado Rapids. I am very bullish on Chris Armas with the Rapids. I am. It's simple as. I am bullish with the Rapids for Armas. I'm bullish on what he can do for the team. And they did well last year, and I think they'll do better this year. I really do. 5th place. They got a good team. And they also got Josh Atencio. We'll see how that plays out for their midfield. But that's good. 4th place. St. Louis City SC. What I think St. Louis did last year was build for this year in the summer. When they got Hartel, they got Toykert, they have a new manager in Melberg. I think St. Louis will bounce back. Not top of the West back, but I think they will bounce back to playoff contention. Into the playoffs. I think they'll bounce back into the playoffs. 4th place, a home seed in the first round or the conference quarters. I think that's what they'll do. I think they got a good enough team to finish top 4, have a home seed, have 2 home games in the conference quarters, and we'll go from there. St. Louis, 4th place. I think they made a good job setting up for this season during the off season or during the summer of last year. 3rd place, Portland Timbers. I think they made a good move getting the players they did. Costa, Forey. They're getting a little bit more of a fast team, a hard-working team, a more athletic team. Evander's a great player, but I think what the Timbers are trying to do while trading him on is smart. I think the Timbers are being a smart team. They want to be more athletic under Phil Neville. I think it will do good things for them. 3rd place. I think they had a really good offseason. Number 2, we got LAFC. They do have some holes, but even then, they're still LAFC. They lost Christian Oliveira. They lost Mateusz Bogusz. They still have Giroux. They still have Bouanga. They gained Marky Delgado. But LAFC is still LAFC, at least for the regular season. I don't think they'll fall off that much. They'll find their way through. They'll probably get Griezmann halfway through the season, and you know what it is. 2nd place, LAFC. And then finally, 1st place, the LA Galaxy. Yes, Ricky Puig is probably out for a good couple of months. They lost Dejan Joveljic, but you know what? So what? So what? LA Galaxy, they're a talented side. They've got a very good manager. They're defending MLS Cup champions. I think in the end, they'll still do enough to finish 1st. Top of the West. So, now into the playoffs. We have the Quakes, Minnesota, the Wild Cards, the top 7, Austin, Seattle, Colorado, St. Louis, Portland, LAFC, LA Galaxy. Let's start with the Wild Card. We got Minnesota United hosting the San Jose Earthquakes. I think San Jose would actually beat Minnesota United here. San Jose moves on, and they will play LA Galaxy in a 3-game tie. I think the Galaxy will still sweep them over 2. We got a Cali Classico, but I think the Galaxy will still sweep them over 2 to move on. It's 2 versus 7. I got the LAFC versus Austin FC. I think LAFC wins 2-1. The series 2-1 is what I think happens. LAFC will move on. Austin, they'll try, but in the end, it just doesn't work out. Ha ha ha. We got Portland versus Seattle as a conference quarterfinal. I think Portland wins the Cascadia Cup conference quarter 2-1 in 3 games. They move on. And finally, we got St. Louis hosting Colorado. I think St. Louis wins 2-1. Another 3-game series, 2-1 for St. Louis, which means LA Galaxy will host St. Louis City, the conference semis. I got the Galaxy winning. Galaxy win over St. Louis. And we got Portland being hosted by LAFC. And I think Portland beats LAFC in LA, which means our Western Conference final, LA Galaxy versus Portland Timbers. LA Galaxy or Portland, who moves on? I have to go with I don't know. Damn. Who do I want to go with? I think LA Galaxy, just by the skin of their teeth, win the Western Conference for the 2nd straight year. I think LA Galaxy does it for the 2nd straight year. So, there you go. There's the Western Conference. The LA Galaxy will finish number 1 the regular season. They'll win the conference in the playoffs. There you go. With that being said, there's your Western Conference. Now we move on to the Eastern Conference. Let's go. And now we're on to the Eastern Conference. Another 15 teams. We have our Western finalist, as it looks on this video. West to East. We have our Western finalist. We'll circle back to them once we have our Eastern finalist. But we're on to the Eastern Conference. First off, the regular season. 15th place in the East. The Philadelphia Union. I have the Philadelphia Union finishing 15th. This is no disrespect to Bradley Carnell, but what Philadelphia Union are doing is malpractice of the nth degree when it comes to roster building. All academy, losing your best players besides Ty Baribo and Andre Blake. I guess having a transfer embargo seems like it. It looks like this year's going to be a disaster for Philly. Simply. Last year wasn't great. This year's going to be worse with Bradley Carnell. Firing Jim Curtin when it wasn't his fault. They needed a fall guy. They fired him. Philadelphia is losing its soul. And I think this is a club that's built on soul. I think the Union is built on soul. At least when they've been successful, it's built on soul, heart, camaraderie, and all that jazz, right? And to lose that because you want a fall guy, well, you're about to have a disaster season. 15th place. Number 14, the Chicago Fire. Yes, Greg Berhalter's making some offseason signings. Yes, they're trying to do some great things. It's still Chicago, and it's still Greg Berhalter. I don't trust Chicago as far as I could throw them. Maybe this is a stupid pick. Maybe I should put them a bit higher. But Toronto on paper, with Robin Fraser as a coach, I still think is higher with Brent Hildson and Corbianu. We'll see where Toronto gets. But I don't think people are like, oh, Toronto's going to be bad this year. No, Philly will be. Chicago, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. There are teams that are above Chicago that I still think maybe they could finish above, but I don't trust Chicago or Greg Berhalter as far as I could throw them. I have to be proved wrong on this one. And if I am, Chicago fans, you could run me down and say, hey, you should have believed in us. You should have believed in Greg. Freaking t-shirt, sweatpants, sneakers, Berhalter, Burger King, desk jockey. That's what he should be. Berhalter. Maybe. I don't know. But just wait. 14th. 13th place. DC United. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do. 13th. I mean, yeah, Benteke's still there, but it's DC. Nothing can save them. 12th place, New England Revolution. They have some good players. They have a Ruti. They've tried to make some changes. Langoni's still there. Caleb Porter's the coach, but I don't think this is going to be a year. I don't think this is going to be a normal Caleb Porter second year. I don't think he's going to win MLS Cup or even touch the playoffs with New England. I think it's such a bad situation that even he, on his second year MLS Cup normalcy, it won't happen for the first time. There's rules that are meant to be broken. I think it will be here. 12th place. 11th place, we have Nashville SC. BJ Callahan's got to do some rebuilding of this club. He's a good coach. They have some good players. They lost Hannibal Godoy. They did get Gaston Brugman. Honey Mukhtar's starting to slow down a little bit. There are better teams in the East. They got to do some rebuilding. 11th place. Number 10, we got CF Montreal. They got Prince Owusu. Laurent Courtois is a good manager, but I think there are teams that are better than Montreal in this wild card 6-7 rumble, I think. They'll have their results, they'll have their moments, but it just won't be good enough in the end. Just barely outside of the playoffs. 9th place. Yep, okay. 9th place, Charlotte FC. Wilfried Zaha. I think Wilfried Zaha, just like how he had Palace get some places they shouldn't, will do enough to get Charlotte into the wild card, 9th place. Wilfried Zaha is going to be the answer. Charlotte, 9th place. 8th place, FC Cincinnati. I like Evander, but did he take Portland that far last year? Cincinnati's still a fraudulent club. I love Evander. I think he's an amazing player. He's an MVP candidate. But he ain't enough to make Cincinnati without Barreal. I think they're losing Oriano as well. Yeah, Danke's there, but Cincinnati's still fraudulent. They're still fraudulent. 8th place. 8th place. They're going to fall off a bit. Orlando City, 7th place. They're still solid. They're still a good club, but I think there are teams that have passed them by this offseason. I think they're solid, but 7th place Orlando. They had a good performance against Miami on Friday, but 6th place, Toronto FC. This isn't biased. I think Robin Fraser's a very good coach. He's going to raise their floor. I think they should make the playoffs this year. They barely missed last year. They have a good roster. If they actually have the tactics, which they will with Robin Fraser, they get Theo Corbianu, they get Ola Brynhildsen as a striker. They'll make some more moves. I think they'll do enough to finish 6th. I really do. Maybe a little bit higher, but I'll stick with 6th. I think Toronto's going to have a better season than most people expect. I think they will. Toronto in 6th place. Still not a team who hosts a first round or a quarterfinal tie, conference quarterfinal tie, but still 6th place. 5th place, Atlanta United. They got back Miguel Almiron. They've got some good players. They got Ronnie Dalla as a coach. I think that's good enough to finish 5th. That's a pretty good squad. They'll be a pretty good squad. Pretty interesting to watch, too. I think Atlanta, as what they were, is about to be back. 4th or 5th place. 4th place, Red Bull. The defending Eastern Conference champions. Playoffs, not top of the league, but playoffs. MLS Cup finalists. Let's put it like that. Red Bull, they got Choupo-Moting. They still have Forsberg. They still have Lewis Morgan. They have a strong squad. They did lose John Tolkien, Von Zier. Whatever. That's not a bad loss. Red Bull, yeah, 4th place. I think that's a good pick. 4th place for the Red Bulls. 3rd place, NYCFC. Pascal Janssen is pretty much why. He's a damn good coach. He's better than Cushing ever was. They still have a good roster. I know they're losing Santi, but I think, again, they'll be fine. They'll be fine, and then they'll replace him in the summer with somebody who's is good enough to replace him, and they'll still finish 3rd out of nowhere. I mean, I still trust Pascal Janssen. If Cushing was still there, I think they would miss the playoffs. Janssen, 3rd. I think they'll play a good style, enough to get results through the first half. They get a new player, they finish 3rd to replace Santi. There you go. 2nd place, Inter Miami. I'm not that stupid. Not like last year. Yes, I think they had a very disappointing preseason. Yes, I think they'll have some disappointing results. Yes, I don't think they're unbeatable. I think they're human. I think they can be beat. I don't think they have a perfect squad, but somehow they're still going to finish 2nd in the East. Yep. Will that matter for the playoffs? Who knows? 1st place, Columbus Crew. I still think the Columbus Crew are going to finish 1st in the East, even without Cucho. They'll get a striker like Flacco from Palmeiras early enough as to where they still might have a chance in Champions Cup, but I think they'll also have a chance in the league to finish 1st in the East. I still believe in the Crew. I believe in Wilfred Nancy. 1st place, Columbus Crew. Shield team, probably the Crew. Yeah, the flawed teams who sold their best players. Yeah, finishing top of each conference. Yeah, that's something. I know. We got Charlotte being hosted by Cincinnati in the wild card game in the playoffs. I'm guessing they're keeping the same playoff format. Charlotte. We have another 9th seed winning a playoff game over a fraudulent Cincinnati. Charlotte. 7, so that'll be 8-9-1. Columbus Crew versus Charlotte. I think Columbus Crew sweeps them. Columbus Crew moves on. We got Miami versus Orlando, a Florida derby. 2-7 matchup. Miami wins 2-1. They get past the conference quarters. We got Toronto versus NYCFC. I think the first game, New York's going to win. I think Toronto wins at home. It's 1-1. And Toronto wins on penalties in Game 3. Toronto moves on to the conference quarters. NYCFC get eliminated. Heartbreakingly. 2-1 for Toronto. And finally, we got Red Bull versus Atlanta. And I'm going to say Red Bull wins 2-1. Red Bull wins 2-1 to move on. So Columbus versus Toronto as the 6th. There we go. Yeah, Columbus still wins. Miami wins. And then finally, conference final. We have the one we should have had last year. Columbus or Miami. I think Miami still wins. Miami finds a way to win to go to the MLS Cup final. Because of course reasons. And then finally, LA Galaxy hosts Miami. And do I want to go there? Messi single-handedly wins MLS Cup for Miami. Miami wins MLS Cup this year. LA Galaxy falls at the final hurdle. LA Galaxy loses to Miami. Miami are the MLS Cup champions this year. Yeah, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. There you go. With that being said, if you like this video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell your friends. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification once subscribed. Send some chats on the live streams. Comment on this video. Put this in playlist. Share with friends and family. All that great stuff. I will see you on Tuesday for Champions Cup. Sporting Kansas City versus Miami live. RSR, only one game. Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have 2 games. Thursday, depending on what happens for the Four Nations face-off. If it is a final for Canada, it's going to be USA-Canada. I think that'd be a pretty good game to go live for over Vancouver-Saprissa. But if Canada doesn't make it, we'll do Vancouver-Saprissa. Friday off, Saturday, Toronto-DC or DC-Toronto. Sunday, Portland versus Vancouver. And then that's what next week looks like. Some CCL, possibly a Four Nations face-off final, and MLS is back. There you go. I'll see you Tuesday. I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace. See you.